Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of Am I the Asshole? If you enjoy hearing Reddit stories, it would really support the channel if you could like or subscribe. Now let's get started with our first story. Am I the asshole for telling my wife she's effing wrong and that my mom is right? I, 35 male, have been married to my wife, 32 female, for 5 years, and we've been struggling financially for the past few months. I lost my job about 3 months ago, and while I've found part-time work, it doesn't pay nearly as much as before. We've had to cut back on a lot of things, but it feels like no matter what we do, we're still living paycheck to paycheck and even pulling from savings. Recently, my mom, 65 female, came over to visit, and she noticed how stressed I was about the money situation. She offered some advice on how we could save money, things like cutting down on takeout, meal prepping to avoid buying groceries multiple times a week, and switching to cheaper brands. My mom has always been frugal, especially when she was raising me and my siblings on a tight budget. I thought it made sense, especially since we're really trying to save wherever we can. I asked if she was willing to go through our spending and show where we could cut down. My wife agreed with this. She made a whole spreadsheet about our spending, and we are spending way too much on fun stuff. We don't need Starbucks every day and so on. It also became apparent that most of the fun spending was my wife's. TBH, my wife didn't take the breakdown well and started arguing with my mom that her spreadsheet was wrong. She said that my mom's way of doing things is outdated and doesn't work for us. She doesn't want to give up buying organic produce, and she likes having variety in what we eat each week. I tried to explain that we need to make some sacrifices if we want to get out of this financial hole, but she kept insisting that things weren't as bad as I was making them out to be, and that we just needed to ride it out. My mom left at this point, and we were still arguing, and she told me she can't give up her takeout. She also went on about my mom being wrong. That's when I lost my patience and said, "You're fing wrong. My mom is right." She managed to raise 3 kids on one income, and we can't even cut back on groceries for a few months. My wife got really upset, saying I am being a huge jerk for whining with my mom, and that my mom is outdated. She's barely spoken to me since, and now I'm wondering if I went too far. But the way I see it, we need to be realistic about our situation, and my mom's advice could actually help us get back on track. Not the asshole. Your wife agreed to go through your budget with your mom. Your mom took the time and effort to review things, and then it sounds like your wife was very rude and dismissive. As far as I know, math hasn't changed that much in the last 30 years, so it's not clear how your mom's views are outdated. You are right, the math didn't change. The solution is simple, even if it's unpleasant for a bit. She was fine with your mom's help until it showed where the money is really going. Most of us have been in your shoes one time or another. Tightening up the financial belt is hard, but you do what you have to do to get by. In my experience, after living with less, you actually prefer it. If we get takeout, it's a treat, and planning meals ahead saves a lot of money. Good luck. Info: did your wife and you discuss having this conversation with your mom? And did the 3 of you sit down and make this spreadsheet together? Or did you and your mom do this on the side and share the info with your wife later? Edit: not the asshole. Your wife agreed to the conversation and is being unreasonable because she doesn't like the suggestions. We sat down together. My mom called and told me she finished going through everything, and it would be best if we all sat down to go through it. We were both informed at the same time. Am I the asshole for refusing to take my sister's kids to school after they've been bullying my son? A bit of background. My sister, Sarah, and her 2 kids, Jake 14M and Mia 12F, recently moved in with us after Sarah went through a rough divorce. She's been staying with us for about 6 months now, and we've tried to be as accommodating as possible. My wife, Laura, and I have 1 son, Ethan, 13 male. At first, everything was fine, and the kids got along okay. Over the last few months, however, Jake and Mia have been making Ethan's life miserable. They've been teasing him constantly, calling him names, and even going through his things when we're not around. It's been especially bad for Ethan because he's more introverted and quiet, has come to us multiple times, upset about things they've said or done, and I've tried addressing it with Sarah. Her response has been pretty dismissive, saying, "It's just normal sibling stuff. They'll grow out of it." The tipping point came last week when Ethan told me that Jake had taken his school project, something he'd spent days working on, and ruined it by drawing all over it. Ethan was in tears. When I confronted Jake, he laughed it off like it was a joke. Sarah didn't seem to think it was a big deal and said Ethan was being too sensitive. Laura was furious, but tried to stay calm. I finally had enough and told Sarah that if she couldn't keep her kids in check, I wasn't going to keep doing favors like driving them to school every day. I've been taking all the kids to school since Sarah moved in because her car broke down and she hasn't been able to get it fixed. It's about a 20-minute detour for me, and I was happy to do it at first, but after all this, I told her it was too much, and she needed to figure it out on her own. Now, Sarah is upset, saying I'm punishing her and her kids over something small, and it's not fair for me to leave her stranded. She even went as far as to say I was being petty and holding a grudge against the kids. She thinks I'm overreacting and should just let it go for the sake of family harmony. My wife is 100% on my side and thinks Sarah's kids have been out of line for months. But now, Sarah is giving me the cold shoulder and telling other family members that I'm being unreasonable. So, am I the asshole for refusing to drive them to school anymore? Overall, not the asshole. But you only stated that you wouldn't drive them to school? Why the hell haven't you kicked them out? They are bullying your son. By ruining his school project, they are messing with his grades. What if that project is the difference between a pass and a fail? They are bullying him in his own home. Kick them out, and anyone who tells you you're being horrible and unfair, ask them, when are they taking her in then? You're right. I think it is about time someone else takes them on as their burden. I have been doing this for long enough now, and she doesn't even seem as though she is trying hard to fix her situation. Why would she try? She's living, I assume, rent-free, or at least reduced. You didn't say whether she is helping out financially at all. If she's not, why would she want to give up a free place to live with someone who was willing to ferry her kids around? Does she pay gas? You're the asshole. Accidentally put in tia, but corrected it. The bullying is going to get worse for Ethan unless you put an immediate stop to this. You need to protect him. Your sister is allowing her children to do this while you graciously opened your home to them. Because she is doing nothing, her kids are taking it as permission to do so. You took the first step. Let her know that there will be consequences for their behavior. If she doesn't discipline her kids, you will. Why are you putting your sister before your son? You really need to tell your sister to move out. Give her 30, 60, 90 days, whatever you can work out, to find a place and move out. Though I can see her dragging it out and playing victim of you being so cruel to a single mother. Though honestly, 30 days is more than enough. Ethan deserves to feel safe in his own home, and he isn't. Eventually, the bullying by his cousins will turn physical, like tripping, pushing, slap upside the head, and then called joking. Is that what you want for him? To see that it's okay to be abused because they are family? The part where your sister said it was normal sibling stuff pissed me off. 1, they aren't Ethan's siblings. 2, siblings generally don't do this to their siblings/family. Also, put a lock for Ethan on his door to protect his possessions and privacy if he has his own room. It's time you make your son's well-being a priority. This is causing irreparable damage to his self-esteem. This age is going through a lot of physical and emotional changes, and such treatment can negatively his emotional development. Why has your wife not stood up for her son? 100% on your side doesn't mean anything if there is no action. Ethan needs protecting, and you both aren't doing it. P.S. This is how some kid gets on the news for snapping. I think you're the asshole, because you're imposing a penalty that doesn't do anything and doesn't mean anything. Refusing to drive her kids while they still live in the house is going to amp up hostilities. You need to tell Sarah that she has 1 week to get out. The end. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.